All right, guys, this lesson is for 12-5. It's going to be the last lesson of the year. The assignment is due Thursday at 4 p.m., although I am getting this recording out a little bit later than I had intended. So if you get a little stuck and you need a little extra time, just email me. I might extend it until later on Thursday night if it's needed, but I'll let you individually contact me if you need that. Basically, guys, this lesson introduces for the first time, perhaps the first time, the equation of a circle in a coordinate plane. Yes, there actually is an equation, but it's a little bit different than what you're used to. First of all, we don't necessarily use x's and y's. Okay, and let's say that that's the center. Instead, the center is h comma k. And you need to get used to h and k. You're going to see that more in Algebra 2. We use instead x and y as a point on the exterior of the circle. And then r should be pretty obvious. R is the radius of the circle. All right, so basically you take, in a distance formula, you take a part of the distance formula and start substituting in and do some completing the square and all that kind of stuff. What you end up with, though, is the standard form of the equation of a circle. The standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And that is equal to r squared. I typically like to put the r squared on the left. So the radius squared is equal to x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. If you look at the circle and you look at that formula, although I wrote it terribly because my stylus is messing up a little bit, you can kind of glean where that information comes from. And everything's squared because of the distance formula. All right, so if they give you a center, 5, negative 2, and a radius of 7, you would write the equation with the x and the y in there. Of course, you need x and y in there just like with linear equations because that allows you to find every point on the circle. So the equation of the circle is, in this particular case, x minus 5 squared. Whoa, forgot to put the x in there first. Notice that that's always a minus sign. So you'll have to switch it if it's a negative. So x minus 5 squared plus, well, I just cannot write with this thing tonight, plus y minus k, but in this case it's minus a negative 2, which becomes plus a 2 squared, is equal to our 7 squared. Simplified, you end up getting x minus 5 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 49. Make that a little bit clearer. And that's the easiest way of writing the equation of a circle. Now, they're not always going to give you that information, however. Sometimes they'll give you different information which require a little bit more work. So let me show you that. Erase this real quick. All right. What if you just get a center, 1, negative 3. So there's our center, which is our h and our k. Okay. And they give you a point on the outside of the circle, 2, 2, which is an x and a y. Remember, the x and the y are all the points on the outside of the circle. And they're asking, okay, what's the standard equation? But we need to find the r. Okay. Well, the easiest way to find the r is to just use the distance formula between those 2 points. In other words, you don't have to plug all this into the equation of the circle to find r squared and take square roots. You could, but it's much simpler just to do that the radius is equal to the distance between those 2 points, because that's the center right here, and that's a point on the outside of the circle, so the distance between those two has to be the radius. So what you would do is the square root of x minus x squared, so x2 minus x1 squared plus y minus y. 2 minus negative 3 becomes plus a 3 squared. And so my radius is equal to the square root of 1 squared, which is 1, plus 5 squared, which is 25. Or my radius is equal to the square root of 26. So when you plug it into the formula, r squared is going to be a regular 26, or x minus h squared, so that you always have an x, minus my h of 1 squared, plus, need my y and my k now, y plus 3 squared equal to the square root of 26 squared, which is just 26. So there's your equation if you've got 2 points, one being the center and one being on the outside of the circle. Now, if you were to graph a circle given its equation, guys, it's pretty obvious. The center is here and here on x and y, but opposite signs. So my center here is 1 comma negative 3. And then the radius is just the square root of whatever the r is. They're not going to give you a imperfect radius, though. Okay. So you would just have to then plot 1 point on the outside of the circle and use a compass to do it. I don't really feel like it's necessary to show you how to do that, though. I think y'all could figure it out pretty quickly as long as you've got that center down with the h and the k, and you can figure out that radius. All right, guys, so kind of a short and sweet lesson, hopefully not too difficult. Finish strong, and we'll be done soon. You get a nice, needed, and well-deserved break. I'm proud of all the work that you've done. This has been an extremely good class on both my geometry classes, but be sure and ask me for any help if you need it, whether reviewing for the test or working on this assignment. Hope y'all have a good rest of the week.